If you've been avoiding AutoFlowers, think again. Let's talk about why AutoFlowers could be the next big thing for your grow. Hey, but before we do, today's video is brought to you by Real Growers Grow Dots, the easiest way to feed your high-value plants. You mix grow dots in once at the beginning of your grow, and they feed your plants all the way to harvest. You don't have to worry about nutrient burn or nutrient lockout. Grow Dots does all the hard work for you. Check them out over at realgrowers.com. And while you're there, use coupon code Scotty420 to get 20% off your first order. Now let's get back to the show. Come on, Hi C, you want to grow some AutoFlowers with me?
I'm not sure that I do, man. I've always heard that AutoFlowers are not quite as potent or fire as some of the more traditional seeds. So maybe you can change my mind.
I have heard that too, but things do change. They develop. So yeah, AutoFlowers are originally what you have: Cannabis indica, Cannabis sativa, and then you have Cannabis ruderalis, which is a non-photoperiod dependent. It used to be ditchweed, they would call it. So they started breeding the indicas and sativas with the ditchweed, and they got some decent, but a lot of ditchweed still in there. So yeah, they have been, it's been a work in progress for what, the last 15 years or so? Mm-hmm. They've gotten better though.
Okay, Cortez, one of the friends of the show, I have heard that his AutoFlowers generally end up being fire, but I've heard so, and maybe it's just the indoctrination. I've heard so many people complain about the quality.
I actually talked to Cortez. I called him up, telling him I was going to be doing some AutoFlower talk, and he says, look, most of the AutoFlowers from back in the day were crossed with this lowrider, and lowrider was like the ruderalis that they would cross with, or it was what they started working with, and they weren't that good. It took a lot of a Daz from Night Owl. He's a great AutoFlower breeder. There's guys that really got into this that put a lot of work in. I mean, it's over a decades worth of work went into this stuff. So it's gotten better. We're improving.
Okay, and you mentioned something about photo dependent.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why they started doing this. Explain what you mean by they're not photo dependent, and then help me understand why that would be something people would be looking for.
Sure. Because of this ditchweed, like we like to call it, it just grew and then it would flower up, meaning photo-dependent. When we are normal Cannabis indica and sativa, you need to grow them under vegetative light cycle, 18 hours, and then cut the light back to 12 hours on, 12 hours off to stimulate flowering. That's Cannabis indica and sativa. Cannabis ruderalis, a totally different set of rules. It grows to be about 45 days old or whatever, somewhere around there, and then it starts flowering. Doesn't matter if the light's on 100% of the time or whatever.
So why would growers want that?
Say you only have one grow space. I mean, say that you want to, my buddy Cortez tells me he's mastered the perpetual harvest, and all he's doing is planting seeds every couple weeks.
So you can keep those. Normally, you have to move them to a totally new grow space or flip the lights. It restricts your ability.
Sure.
But here you could just have the lights on, 18 hours a day, and they'll still flip over to bloom. So you can have bloom and veg under the same lights.
Yep. So a true perpetual harvest, and a really easy one at that. If you've got 4 plants and you plant them once every 3 weeks or so, theoretically, you got a nice perpetual harvest.
Okay, so then that brings up my second objection is, if I screw something up in veg, I don't have the ability to extend my veg out and recover from whatever I did.
That is something that always concerned me, especially back in the day. They had more finicky strains. That lowrider was a bit more finicky. As they were able to breed that out or breed with other strains, they were able to make things that were less finicky, a bit easier to grow. That was always the problem. If you mess something up in your AutoFlower, there wasn't that recovery time like you have with a photoperiod plant.
So I'm still kind of concerned about that, because even with regular plants that aren't finicky, I still mess stuff up sometimes in veg.
Sure. I mean, you can try some grow dots. They're really easy, man.
This video brought to you by Grow Dots.
Nah, it is true, man. That's one of the things that kind of kept me from AutoFlowers is I'll definitely mess up my grows sometimes, forget to show up, forget to water clones or whatever, and I can get them back. It might take me a week, 10 days to get back to where I was, but I can get them back.
So that's just something you have to take into consideration.
Sure.
And is it really, though? I mean, I don't mess stuff up all the time, but I'm also not the best grower out there. How big of a concern is that for someone who's pretty good at growing? Is that something that they're just like, hey, it's a risk I'm willing to take?
I think it's consistency. By the way, this is not really a business for me. It's fun. So this is fun. So trying some new AutoFlowers and saying, oh man, I think I can do better next time. Or wow, that was really impressive. That was fun. That was something new for me. It's kind of really where I'm at right now. I'm not trying to go over 2 pounds of light.
The last objection that I have to AutoFlowers is, since you said consistency, I like when I know what a plant is going to do. I like when I know, hey, this is going to flower in 45 days.
Right.
I like when I know, hey, it's going to grow this tall. I don't really get that with AutoFlowers. It's kind of like a crapshoot.
Hey, man, that's strain dependent. No, it's breeder dependent. I mean, that's what a good breeder does, is he tries to breed the variations out of these strains, whether it's regulars or autos. I just said regulars. I would be remiss in saying that autos can be regular or feminized. Boy, it is a bummer to go and get yourself an AutoFlower just to realize you grew a male. So I like feminized AutoFlowers. I would steer you towards those if you're going to try them.
Okay, so there's still some of the variables we're trying to work out, but it does sound like AutoFlowers are getting better.
They definitely are. I was just hanging out in LA with our buddy Chubbs. Well, I feel fancy when I say that, no? But 30, what did he get? I think it was 30.4% is what he tested at MJ BizCon. He won the
30.4% what?
Oh, THC. Sorry. Just strong as all hell. An AutoFlower won, I think it was 4th place in the DGC Cup. Mm-hmm. They're legit.
Okay, so people are definitely stepping up their game with them.
Definitely. I mean, it's fun. You think about it. You can throw a seed in. You throw it in the corner of your mother room or in veg and have a plant 100 days later, somewhere around 3-4 months later. That is pretty neat.
So help me understand how breeders are improving the AutoFlowers, because what you're talking about today is definitely not what I experienced even just a couple of years ago.
I guess the best way to answer that is they've just got better breeding stock. They've got better stock to start off with, as to where they used to have to be stuck with something that was a very low THC, something like the Low Rider or its equivalent. Now they've got so many AutoFlower genetics to work with that I just think there's a better gene pool out there.
Gotcha. Okay, so I've kind of poo-pooed and been negative Nancy about AutoFlowers. Help me out, though. What are some of the advantages to growing with autos?
And the biggest advantage is you can grow good quality cannabis consistently under one space, one grow tent. It's having 2 grow tents is double the expense, double the work. It is not very expensive to go get yourself a 4x4 grow tent, put a light in there, and then pop seeds once every 3 or 4 weeks.
And then just constantly be having that perpetual harvest you were talking about.
Yeah, every 3 or 4 weeks, you're pulling one down and putting one back in. It's a pretty simple grow system. The only problem is you're addicted to buying seeds.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
You can't clone AutoFlowers.
No, you can. It'll just flower up the exact same time. It just keeps the timeline of the mother.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that is not the only. That's a huge issue with AutoFlowers. If you want to get growing a strain and then get better and better at it, it's pretty tough with autos. All
right, so for an inexperienced grower like me, or maybe a new grower, would you recommend AutoFlowers?
I think I might. What's it hurt, man? You put a seed in a 3-gallon or something like that. For me, you throw some grow dots in there. It's gonna be pretty easy. You give it some recharge watering every now and again. I do think you'll have success with it. And really all you need to do is throw it under a light and water it.
And I know that Cortez, we've mentioned him earlier in this episode.
Cortez the Conqueror, great auto. I know him because I was impressed with his AutoFlowers and I reached out to him. That's how I know the guy.
Yeah, and I think he grows a lot of them with grow dots, and he definitely a huge fan of the recharge. But it seems like if you have like a simple setup, a simple tent, one light, use some good stuff like recharge and grow dots. It seems like it's hard to screw up.
Consistency, you can build a good organic soil as well, but you just don't want to go with a nutrient deficiency or a nutrient burn, pH lockout. All that stuff is going to mess up. You've only got a very limited time to vegetatively grow that plant. You need to make sure that it's growing strong and never slows down.
Nail the veg.
Nail the veg. Whoa. But those are just my thoughts about AutoFlowers. What about you? Are you a fan? Are you not a fan? Let me know in the comments. And if you dug this video, please hit that like button, smash that subscribe button. Share this video with another grower you know. And check out the other couple videos YouTube's recommended. I know you'll dig them.